Welcome back to another edition of LFG, the Unfiltered Franchise Education Podcast. I am Michael Hyam, here today live on location, or at least we're live. You're not listening to this live, with Leanne Caruso. Leanne, how you doing?
I am so good. We had a really great week this past week. I know you and I were both traveling a lot, but we had our recovering from our Nashville mastermind and peer advisory retreat. So it was really, really good. Had a really great experience with FranDev folks and marketers and supplier partners, and they say it's the best one yet. So I'm really happy with it.
Amazing. And where was it?
It was in Nashville.
Oh my goodness, how can you go wrong with Nashville? Did you stop by Kid Rock's bar?
You know what? We actually didn't make it to Broadway, except we did do the bachelorette bus. We did do the party buses.
Oh,
So that,
sure.
That was as Broadway as we actually got. But we had a great time. It was fantastic. But the food, the entertainment, there was music, there was buses. I mean, it was fun.
Amazing.
Great time.
Sure. Listen, I'm sad I couldn't make it, but from all the LinkedIn posts and everyone seemed like it was very gleeful and purposeful. So
Yeah,
so
it
that's
was
really
very purposeful. It was good. Everybody was asking about you, so maybe next time. Tampa.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, so unfortunately I couldn't make it. I had a lot going on. Oh my goodness, where do I start? Well, I think on the last one I said at that time I was having about 5 family members coming in from town. It ended up being 10 family members. They stayed with me for about 5 days, and then the day they left, I moved. As you maybe for those of us that are watching on YouTube, I traded in my bar for books here. We're giving up the bar, right, Leanne?
You're not giving it up. Trying to look more studious.
Yeah. Gave up the bar, folks. It's over.
We all know it's a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that on the next one. Yes, we've got some interesting things happening and some preparation. But yes, I moved, and then the day after I moved, I left to start working on preparation for our Virginia DC franchise show. Then we kicked that off and we closed that off, and then I went to DC for a couple of days. Saw some of the monuments and all that good stuff, and headed straight out to Vegas because we had a Saturday show. Our setup was on Thursday, and then finally left home back on Sunday to unpack some boxes.
That's crazy.
Vegas was fun, and DC was fun, and the shows were phenomenal, and everything was good, and it's just been a crazy whirlwind. And yeah,
how you left for over a week just in time to not unpack all the boxes.
I know, me, I would never do that. It was like almost like it was strategic, and I left my poor wife to unpack literally 100 boxes. I did not want to do anything of the sort. Stop trying to bait me out here. Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, let's get moving. We have today we have a very good friend of mine, Brooke Janousek. She's a CMO of Garage Experts, previous CMO of Liberty Tax and Hello Garage, and she's one smart cookie. We recently did a LinkedIn live webinar with her on personal branding and hot tips. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that, that's also on our YouTube channel and Spotify. Super smart. Go follow her on LinkedIn. But she's going to bring to us like all of the things that CMOs are thinking about in franchising, which is crazy. So I'm excited to talk to her.
Super excited. So she was in Nashville, right?
She could not go to Nashville, but she will be in Tampa. She is part of our mastermind group, but she couldn't go to Nashville.
She couldn't go. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So let's get to it. Oh, yes. Here's what's growing on. This segment is sponsored by Franchise Assembly, a franchise events company, bringing resources and education to franchise brands and people. Leanne, take it away. What's growing on today?
In 2024, franchise stores saw rising costs per lead across most paid channels, but that's not slowing them down in 2025. According to Franchise Insights, nearly 87% of franchisors plan to use Google Ads, including YouTube, this year, up from 82.5% last year. Meta platforms like Facebook and Instagram are also gaining ground, with usage climbing to nearly 77%, outpacing even brokers and referral networks. Franchise portals saw the biggest jump in planned usage, from 62% to almost 69%, despite moderate cost increases reported over a quarter of users. Even with the election year and economic uncertainty ahead, 58% of franchisors say they're maintaining or expanding growth plans, and 98% are increasing spend. That's good, across the 4 major lead gen platforms. This data comes from a January 2025 survey of FranDev teams ranging from emerging brands to large multi-unit systems.
That's great. A great topic. This is from Franchise Insights, or this was from the poll that I saw you put on LinkedIn last week?
That's actually from Franchise Insights, but I did do a poll on LinkedIn, and I can share that with you in just a second. But it said basically 50% of franchisors say leads are down. I think 24% say they're up. And so that's interesting. And I'll read that to you just a second. Let me pull that up while you're reading the next article. Oh wait, no, I got it. Look how fast. All right, 50% said leads are down, 24% are holding steady, 22% reported leads are up, and 4% said it depends on the month. But in conversations I've had, people are doubling down on education first marketing, leveraging AI tools for smarter targeting, getting creative with brand storytelling, investing in broker networks and validation strategies, and not pulling back on budgets. So
Phenomenal.
that's from 46 people who voted on my poll on LinkedIn.
Yeah. No, and by nice, I mean the people that voted, not that leads are down. But okay, so up next, Domino's, second brand for long-term growth. Andrew Rennie, CEO of Domino's Pizza Group, is exploring the acquisition of a second food franchise to complement Domino's and drive sustained growth. Having led significant expansion in the UK and Ireland, Rennie aims to increase store count from 1,372 to 2,000 by 2030. That is significant growth. Despite previous challenges, including failed international ventures, a new 5-year agreement with franchisees promises stability. The company continues its search for a second brand after missing out on acquiring Wingstop UK.
Big. All right, how AI helps small teams compete like big ones. In today's fast-paced business world, AI is becoming a game changer, especially for small businesses and franchisees looking to do more with less. The article highlights how AI tools are democratizing efficiency, allowing lean teams to compete with large-scale operations. Platforms like Zapier are automating repetitive tasks. Notion AI is helping with content creation and project management, and AI sales assistants are streamlining lead gen and follow-ups. The key message: you don't need a massive team to look like one. By integrating the right AI tools, entrepreneurs can scale smarter, not harder, improving productivity, customer engagement, and decision-making. It's also a call to action. Small businesses that don't adapt AI risk falling behind. The technology is accessible, cost-effective, and when used strategically, can level the playing field. And let me just shout out to Ingrid of Train in Your Lane. They just did, Awareity did a great workshop in Nashville, and Ingrid does great virtual workshops on AI tools and how to work more efficiently. So if you're interested in learning a lot of those tools, they've got a lot of great information to share.
Amazing. If you have what is if you want to share what's going on in your world, or have any great franchise news, then feel free to send us an email to podcast@franchiseassembly.com. And as I say on every podcast, Leanne will not share it. And I'm kidding. We are trying. We're going to share more. But before we get to our next segment of Franchise Royals, this segment is sponsored by Orchitect. Managing multiple franchise locations. Meet Maestro by Orchitect, your ultimate business intelligence solution. Gain a centralized view of your entire network, leverage predictive analytics, and make data-driven decisions to boost productivity and profitability. Seamlessly integrate with QuickBooks and automate tasks like royalty payments. Trusted by successful franchises, Maestro transforms operations across retail, healthcare, education, and sports. Visit orchitect.com and take your franchise to the next level. All right. Franchise Royals, our next segment. Leanne, why don't you take it away? Who's your franchise royal this week?
My franchise royal is my new friend, Kelly Schroeder, VP of Dev at Threshold Brands. I met her for the first time with you in Vegas. She stopped us and said that she listened to our podcast, and we're
No,
like,
hold
hey,
on, hold on. That's not what she said. I remember exactly. She said, "Oh my gosh, aren't you the famous Michael Hyam and your
that's not
sidekick
what she
Leanne?"
said.
She did stop us though, walking down the hall. That's right. And told us, continue. Sorry, as I rudely
Yeah.
interrupted you.
No, anyway, and so meeting her was great, and we able to connect and get her to Nashville to the Fran Dev Mastermind. She was such an amazing contributor, and for her to take the time and space with a small little one, and prioritizing professional and personal development. Really enjoyed getting to know her, and just thought she was just really, really wonderful. So she's my royal this week.
Oh, very nice. Love Kelly and shout out to her as well. I do see her posts on LinkedIn and she's definitely a contributor to our franchise community. So I love that. I have my royal is similar in the same aspect. Glenn Anderson of French Florist. Glenn, I think now has been working with French Florist for a year or two. He was working with our good friend Ron Bender before he passed. I actually saw Glenn last week. He had exhibited at our Las Vegas franchise show, and he told me that he was a listener of our podcast as well.
Number
So we now
three.
have number 3. Hey, shout out to Karen. Karen, I know you're listening. Our first listener. No, but Glenn had told me he was driving from somewhere to somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, but he said he put the podcast on and he was listening to them in sequence. So that was really nice. But in addition to that, his first franchise show, which is the one before this one, was he was exhibiting at our event in Pasadena, California, and he told me he sold a franchise right out of that event. So it's always nice to hear from the first time you've ever exhibited with us. He sold one, and then saw him in Vegas to give you the good news. So shout out to you, Glenn. Congrats on the sale there, and thank you for listening to the podcast. And now, before we head to our show and tell segment, please take a moment to listen to learn about our podcast sponsor, Subtle Strauss.
Franchisors love Subtle Strauss because we protect their brand standard across all marketing channels. Z's love our marketing platform because they can customize, print, download, and mail brand right collateral for their local market in minutes. Want to see how it works? Connect with me, Karen Wenning, on LinkedIn.
And back to the show. We're going to hit off with show and tell. The show and tell segment is where we have industry leaders or experts that give insight and ideas on their field. And Leanne gave a superb introduction, Brooke, before you were on for you. But yes, this week we have Brooke. Brooke is the CMO of Garage Experts. Brooke, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I thought you were hesitating because you were trying to pronounce my last name.
I thought he was too. I was like, he knows though.
Most people hesitate. So what was the question? Tell you about me? Sorry.
Yes.
No, I mean, Leanne kind of stole your thunder by literally saying everything about you
That's
10
okay.
minutes ago. But you please tell us about yourself, where you
Sure.
came from, how you started, and where
Yeah.
you're off to now.
I trust that she gave a stellar intro. Currently, I am the Chief Marketing Officer at Garage Experts. So we are a franchisor with 83 locations around the United States. And sorry, we're not in Canada yet, but we do garage renovations for homeowners. So storage, flooring, the whole kit and caboodle. Before that, I was a fractional CMO, which is how I got to meet Leanne. And I have decades, we'll just leave it at that, of experience in marketing, working with various brands that you've heard of, like Disney and GE and Toro, and then smaller brands that you might not have heard of, like Leash Pet Transportation. So in a nutshell, I love branding and I love helping brands tell their stories. So I'm excited to talk with you all today.
Yay.
Yay.
All right. So today we don't have like one specific topic other than, I guess, basically like what it's like to be a CMO. And you've been in your position how long now?
It's
Not
been
even a year.
not even a year. It's been 7 or 8 months. I'm not great at math, but since October.
Yeah. I love how marketers aren't great at math. Um, so you've been there since October. So I think and it's a new position to Garage Experts too. So you're taking on a new role that hasn't existed before and kind of bringing it all in and reining it in, I guess. And so we're going to basically talk to you about all of the things that CMOs have to think about on any given day. And before, I don't think you mentioned that you're also CMO of another brand. There's two.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that my days are very condensed because I'm actually over two brands, and I'm over the Versatile High Performance Coatings, which is the manufacturer that Garage Experts purchases the floor coatings from. So we're vertically integrated. So it allows me, so my team is a shared resource. So there's a lot of back and forth. And we were joking yesterday as a team. I don't know if you all watch Severance, but I almost wish there was like a chip in my brain that I walk into a meeting. I'm like, okay, it's only VHPC. You don't remember anything GE. And then you move into the GE meeting and you're like, okay, I've forgotten everything. But that's not how it works, unfortunately.
No. That would be a good idea, although I don't know that I'd want to do the severance thing.
No, me either. Me either.
Wild stuff.
It is. But yeah, so my days are pretty crazy and truly I am shifting back and forth, but honestly, that's no different than what I was doing as a fractional CMO. You know, you have various clients and you go from meeting to meeting and it's literally like, okay, turn off my brain for this client, turn it on for this one. So there's a lot going on. And like I said, I've been there 7 months and what I tried to do is not come in just and upset the apple cart. Like I didn't want to just come in and say everything that we're doing is wrong. I really took a lot of time to evaluate all of our systems, our CRM, the partners that we're using, really see for myself, like with my own two eyes, okay, how are they performing? How's their account management? All of that. How is the system doing with these partners, these resources? And now it's time to make some changes. So that also takes time. So I'm not a very patient person. So I'm like, gosh, I feel like I haven't made any progress, but really there's been a lot done. It's just like, it's not implemented yet where the franchisees can really see the full benefits of what we're doing.
Yeah. It's laying the foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the exact analogy that we use all the time. We actually are like, hey, we're ripping things down, like we're ripping the house down to the studs. We might even be pouring the foundation again and then building back up is kind of what we're doing.
I gotta really hand it to you, fractional people, going from one to the next, to the next, to the next. I mean, it's wild, right? Always working on something a little bit different and keeping in mind everything else. And it's a real multitasker. I love it.
It is. And however, there's the advantages is that like you learn something, you know, the principles of marketing, I don't feel change from industry to industry. So you learn something over here and you're like, hey, we, you know, had really good results over here on this. Let's try it over here. Or, hey, I had a client that did XYZ. We saw this happen. What if we made this tweak for our industry and see what happens? So there's some nice advantages too to having all of that. It's kind of like just I mean, it is running your own ad agency where you have multiple clients. You just pull from, you know, shared learnings.
Totally. And so we're going to jump right into to AI or not AI. Tell us, from your marketing perspective, what are you implementing in systems?
Yeah, so I am definitely one that does not think AI is coming for our jobs. I think if you're a marketer or if you're a CFO, I mean, whatever position you're in your company, if you're not using AI to help advance business objectives, that is what's going to replace you, is people that are using it to their advantage. And so from us personally at Garage Experts, there's some things that we're going to do that I don't want to give away, but I will say there is a lot from a customer experience perspective that, yes, you can't replace the human interaction, but from a scalability perspective, AI is really helpful. And having AI agents to almost do your customer service until they can't answer the question, then they'll kick it to a real person. But that is going to be something that will definitely, I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced AI now, and maybe sometimes didn't even know that it was AI until we are like, oh, shoot. I went to a conference in February put on by Podium. And so that's who we're going to use to implement our AI agents. And they said that a lot of people, they were using it at a car dealership. A lot of people would come in and say, hey, I want to talk to Jerry. He was so helpful. And they're like, oh, well, Jerry's not a person. So I think that's pretty cool that we can get to the point where you can teach the agents your brand voice. You can teach it emotions. You can say, hey, reply with empathy if this happens. You know, and it will remember little ticky tacky things like, oh, hey, this person, you know, called in with this question, and they save it, and then they'll remember like, oh, hey, how did, you know, your kitchen remodel go or whatever. So that's why I think people are starting to think that they're interacting with humans. So it's wild.
That is wild. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was a person. It's
Yeah.
great.
And we're training it like, so you basically are feeding it all your FAQs. So it will learn. And then on our side, we can say, oh no, that's not how you should have answered it. You should have answered it this way. And then it will never make that mistake again. So there's going to be a lot of AI is as good as the human training it is going to make it. Same thing, garbage into Chat GPT, you're going to get garbage out of it. So we're in the process of training those agents to help us.
We just launched a couple of different agents with one of my clients internally, like an internal agent, and then an external agent. And it's been a really cool process to walk it through and train it. And well, and really it is the FAQs and but really it was honestly quite simple to create. Which I thought was interesting too. It's already so smart that you just give it a few things and it's like, and here's the brand voice and here's where you pull from, and then it's magic.
100%. And the cool thing is how it knows it can seamlessly flip between a human and the agent. So,
Right.
like we'll see it in our app that like, oh, hey, the agent couldn't answer the question, and it will ping us, and then we'll be like, oh, you know, and we'll chime in and we can take over seamlessly, and we can be like, oh, okay, now the agent's got it, and it can kick it back to them. So, I worked with another company where we were using AI on our call center, which I think most people are doing this now. But what I really loved is it would, we could give it a dictionary. And then, so we gave it an Excel spreadsheet. So we had in one column the words, and then in another column the value of that word. So if someone called in for a certain service that was worth, let's say, $5,000, that call didn't convert to an appointment, we could then ping the inside sales and say, hey, we just missed a $5,000 opportunity. Call that right now. And if we miss a $100 opportunity, hey, call the $5,000 one back first. So I think that's a really cool way too that people can implement AI into their call centers.
That's great. And then it dumps into your CRM, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Which leads me to, what a segue.
What a segue. My favorite 3 letters in the alphabet.
CRM. God. If you're not watching on YouTube, all of our faces just dropped probably. But yeah, tell us about CRM and like coming into an organization where you need to make sure that the data is clean and is all the attribution right and is everything going in the right places. Tell us what you're dealing with on that end.
Yeah, before I start on the garage expert side, I will also say as a fractional CMO, that was almost the first thing always I asked is, what is your CRM? And if they didn't have one, I kind of would decline working with them, because if you don't have a CRM, and no, like I'm not throwing shade to the people that are, you know, tracking things in spreadsheets, but we really need, and I'm glad that they're at least tracking, but we really need something a little bit more robust. And so as a fractional, I would come in and say, okay, here, let me start looking at reports, and would really just start digging into how are they attributing? First of all, are their lead sources clean? You know, there was one time where I think there was 45 or 6 different lead sources, and it was because they were getting like, they would say internet with a capital I, then internet with a lowercase I,
Oh God.
Google, and then Google with a small g. And I'm like, oh, we've got to get this cleaned up. So always make sure the lead sources are clean. And so when I came to Garage Experts, during my interview process, I asked, what CRM do you use? And they said HubSpot. And I thought, oh, okay, that's great for Fran Dev. But at the time, they were wanting to use HubSpot also for the franchisees to run their business. And thankfully, we also at the same time I was hired a new franchise president. And he and I were like, we really probably should use something that's better for operations and especially in a home services industry. So we want the CRM. And so we are going with ServiceMinder. So we're in the process of offloading everyone from one CRM onto ServiceMinder. And so it's actually a really good opportunity for me to get all lead sources clean.
Yeah.
So that was first and foremost, okay, which ones are we going to track? And then we're doing like the data import, making sure all of that happens. But it's so important as marketers, we can't make decisions on where to spend our money if we don't know what lead source is performing well, plain and
Right.
simple.
Yeah.
But in my world, since I'm over 2 brands, we did keep HubSpot for FranDev, and then we have ServiceMinder for our franchisees. And then on the VHPC side, we're using our ERP, NetSuite for CRM. So I have 3 different instances that I sit in, and it's hard because they're not, contact is one, and then I think record is another. Like they don't have the same naming convention. So it's really, again, turning my brain on and off is very difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
Switching.
CRMs are tough. And when you also, and this is not related to you, but working in as many brands as I do, and then when you don't have people to manage the CRMs or don't have an understanding of the CRM, it's just a challenge.
Yes.
I'm working with a brand right now and they can't figure out how to do year-over-year reporting. And I'm like, it's
Yeah.
possible.
It is. And, to be honest, so that's a really good point. There are some, like, I love the CRM to be like the point of truth, the central point of truth for everything. There are sometimes, I was just doing it yesterday for FranDev, I was pulling stuff out of HubSpot and making my own spreadsheet, only because there were some reports that just couldn't get what I wanted. But as long as the data was clean in HubSpot, which I know it is, because we just stood up that instance in January, I was able to get the report that I needed. But yeah, for year over year and things like that, the CRM should be able to do that. And there's
Totally. And in the defense of those that can't pull the reports.
Yeah, but you're never mind.
I just pull it once in a while and it's really not top of mind. And of course, Emma helps me. So
well, then there's that. There's the salespeople, and I think you're actually pretty good at this, Michael. But then there's the salespeople who refuse to use the CRM.
Right.
Like that's very common. FranDev people.
That's insane.
They refuse to use it.
Absolutely use it.
Right. Yeah.
It is insane.
Without CRM, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It's insane. And it's not just FranDev salespeople. I think it's just salespeople in general. And maybe you said that, Leanne, but when at a previous brand that I worked for, the sales reps would have to disposition their sales appointment. Did they run it or not? And we were like, you have to tell us if you did or not, because that affects our conversion rates. And so it's just, I find if you explain the why, they're like, oh, I didn't realize, like, I thought you only cared if it closed. And I was like, well, I want to know if you like actually ran the appointment. Was it a no-show? Because that affects our cancellation rate. And they're like, oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. No, and as a salesperson, I will validate exactly that. If you're not, I use CRM like it's my Bible. Legit, every single thing, every point, every contact, every touch, every email, it's all in there, and I don't let anything falter. And shoo, I have this freaking phone ringing here. I thought I put it on do not disturb. Sorry, it's all good though. But I will say that you absolutely have to, and if you're not using your CRM properly, you're not going to succeed. And I say that as a salesperson who knows a little bit about what they're talking about. And speaking of CRM, though, I'm going to ask you maybe a little bit off the side, Brooke. I have a cousin that was going to looking very hard into purchasing a garage expert. I wonder if he's actually in your CRM, and if he ended up doing that, I wasn't able to connect with him.
Yeah, we should look. If not, I'll get Nick on it right away.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Does your cousin live in the States?
Yes, yeah. He lives in New York City,
Okay.
but he was looking at moving to Florida, and I think there were not too many territories left, but there was one specific in an area, and so he was, potentially going to move there, or not. I don't even know if he'd move there, but run it or somehow,
We
with
have
a
a
partner.
lot. We have a lot of Z's in Florida, and they do very well. And so that's probably our most populated state, I would say, from a like territory occupation standpoint. But if he wants to move to Maine or Michigan or Nevada, I have got opportunities for him.
Yeah, well, maybe Nevada. I mean, there was a lot of. We just had the franchise show there last weekend, and lot of people came out. Seemed like for a smaller, we find like at the franchise show, there's a direct correlation between a population base to how many people actually want to be their own boss. And for a smaller size city, and by smaller I mean Nevada, the greater Las Vegas area, which is where the show was, under 1 million population, had a really good turnout compared to like a Dallas, which might have 3 to 4 million in the greater Dallas area. So I think there's definitely been some growth in Nevada there.
Yeah, and then we can put a bow on this one, but not to get too detailed, but a contractor's license in Nevada is a little harder to obtain than other states. And so that's why that state is actually a little bit harder for us to sell in, because it's just really hard to get a contractor's license.
All right. So Leanne was telling me that you're going through the process of finding a new digital marketing partner. Tell us about the RFP process and how to find a good collaborative partner for the system.
Woo! This has been fun. It's been really fun. I am an agency girly at heart, so I have worked at ad agencies on and off throughout my career, and so I always, as working at an agency, love to see when an RFP came in. It just kind of got me all excited, and I was like, "Ooh, fun! Who's the brand and what do we get to do?" Um, but in this case, we have, like I said, I didn't want to come in and totally disrupt the system. And to be honest, our current partner is doing great from a performance standpoint. I want to do and honor my responsibility to the system to make sure that the partner that we have in place is the right one to help us get to the next level. Like, we want our franchisees, earning, or excuse me, installing at least 1 million in revenue every year. And so in order to get to that point, they need leads. So we are in the process. We just wrapped up first round. We evaluated 12 agencies. And so how I came up with that list, I certainly ask my peers for recommendations. That is really important to me to know, hey, who have you used that has worked in the past? And so definitely asked a lot of my fellow CMO peers and some in the mastermind group. There are agencies in the mix that I have worked with previously as a fractional CMO or as SVP at Liberty Tax. And so threw them in the mix. And then we actually developed a scorecard. So I wanted it to be as objective as possible. So if you're running an RFP, I would highly suggest doing that. We had the same 10 questions that we asked every agency. And then we had the same scorecard on from 1 to 5. So I wanted it to be really objective on the scoring. And then now we're narrowing it down to 5. So I'm actually notifying the 5 today that they have moved on. I'm not asking for spec work. I don't believe in doing that. Some people might. It's just not my MO. But now it's really kind of getting down to the nitty gritty. Like, I'm not going to say, hey, please give me a full blown media plan or media strategy. I just want to know, how are you going to structure your packages for our franchisees? And what would the pricing be? Because that's really important to us, is to make something affordable for our system. But it's been really fun. I've enjoyed, there's people in the mix that don't have experience in franchising. There's people in the mix that are only agencies for franchises. So it's been really fun to kind of see what people offer and what they bring to the table.
Cool. I always love seeing, I'm an agency girly too, so I always love seeing what people bring to the table and how they present and how they pitch. And I can't wait to see who you end up with.
Yeah, and one of the things, and very well could end up with the same agency we have right now. I don't know, but It's been really enlightening. You always learn just like one or two things that you're like, huh, I didn't know that was a thing, or that's really cool. Um, and on the SEO front, my biggest concern is tanking the SEO if we were to move our website. And everybody has said that's like an outdated way of thinking.
Mhm.
And in this day and age, there's so much that you can do to preserve it. Yes, I mean, you can't not have a little dip, but it's not like what it used to be. So that was reassuring that literally every agency said the same thing. Like, don't worry too much.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. All right, we kind of covered it a little bit as you guys are making a sale for Michael's cousin, but tell us about what you're doing for Fran Dev, because I'm going to go off on a little bit of rant. I know we don't have a ton of time, but the fact that so many brands that I work with, the marketing team or the CMO doesn't have oversight or input or day-to-day interaction with Fran Dev, like makes me insane. Marketing supports sales, and in so many organizations, Fran Dev is off on their own with sales leading marketing, which is a bad idea, and it's not fair to salespeople. So I love that you are involved in Fran Dev, and I know it's difficult. Like I know it's hard to do all of the things, but tell us about what you're doing in Fran Dev these days.
Yeah, I will say about 5 years ago, I was working for a competitor and I was in the scenario that I wasn't involved in it. And I never understood why. I was like we can help drive leads to the system. And then when I got my job at Liberty Tax, I was like that was my first foray into, hey, we want marketing to help. And Jeff was like, Brooke, I need your help. Like help me generate leads for my team. And so that was the first time that I really got to be ingrained in that. And then as a fractional CMO, really got to be more involved. So all of that prepared me for leading the marketing efforts here at Garage Experts. So we have a lofty goal this year, and compared to what we did last year, I said to the CEO, if we're going to do this, then if we're going to 3x what we need to do in sales, I need to 3x the budget. And he understood. And so that was kind of step one, was getting the resources. Step two was getting our CRM set up. So back to the CRM conversation, we got set up on HubSpot, set everything up exactly the way that we wanted it to be, reporting, the sequences, all of that. And then by that time, it was time to turn on the marketing. So I don't think I fully started spending at the budget that I wanted to spend until February 1, because I needed December and January to kind of get everything set up. So we actually got a new agency there too. And I just looked the other day, I want to say 27 or 28% of our leads are coming from Facebook, which I know most people will cringe at, but we actually found a really good partner that's doing a very good job. And these leads are really qualified.
Wow.
So I'm very pleased with that. We are employing using Fishman PR for some PR efforts. That's something that we hadn't done in the past, and I find to be extremely important as part of the FranDev marketing process. And then we hired a lead qualifier. So yay me, we generated so many leads that Michael couldn't handle them anymore. And
Nice.
so we hired a lead qualifier, and he started, and then we had to redo HubSpot to like account for his pipeline. So in the middle of that right now, but it's going really well. The other thing that now I'm doing is fine tuning our sequences. So I'm looking, and we have a 5 email sequence right when a lead is generated. The third one, for whatever reason, generates no appointments. I can't figure out why, but I'm like, there's something in this message people don't like. So I literally just rewrote that yesterday, because I'm like, they'll book an appointment on email 1, 2, 4, and 5. They don't on 3. So I'm like, that's obvious.
Huh.
That's a clear indication that there's something in this message that's not compelling them to book. So doing that. And then we also added broker groups. So that was something that we hadn't done in the past. So our new president, Mike, had some great relationships and was really bullish on using brokers. So we're starting to get some broker leads. We're doing a lot of territory checks with them. So that's good too.
That's great. Has it been stressful?
Out of the three initiatives, GE, like generating leads for our GEs, VHPC and FranDev. FranDev has been the least stressful for me. And
Oh, that's good.
I honestly think, I was trying to think about why. I honestly think it's because I have the resources from a financial standpoint. We redid the messaging, so we got really clear on who we were going after and what we needed to say to them. And the CRM data is clean. So I know exactly what's working and not working. So those three things
Great.
have been helping. And that's like the thing that is going very well for me right now.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Sounds like you're super on top of it. That is
Right.
great. Let's switch it up a little bit. Tell us how to effectively and successfully launch a new franchise location. And tell me, what do you consider to be effective and successful?
Ooh, this is a, and I would love to talk with both of you about this too. This is something that I'm in the thick of right now. So it's something that we didn't, totally crack the code on when I was at a competitor. And I've seen it as a fractional. Everyone always struggles a little bit to get that first couple months under their belt. And in home services, your business lives and dies by leads. If you don't have leads, you don't get appointments, you can't run the appointment to sell and install, and you don't realize revenue until you install the product. So it is always the how can we get them as many leads as possible right away. And it's actually part of the RFP process is just saying, help us navigate those first 3 months of how do we get them going as quickly as possible. And I'm always educating the franchisees. A lot of it has to be your local boots on the ground. Like you have to be networking, join as many groups as possible, join the chamber, BNI, maybe find your local EOS implementer, somebody to network with to get your name out there. And I created a checklist for them. So I said, what I have found in the past is marketing can be very overwhelming to a franchisee. They're like, there's so many things. I don't know how to do all the things. I don't have time to do all the things. So I said, what if we think about it as, hey, you only have to dedicate 1 hour a day to marketing. And I'm going to break it down for you minute by minute. So for 10 minutes a day, you're going to get on Facebook and you're going to read comments and you're going to reply to them. And then the next 10 minutes, you're going to get into Nextdoor and you're going to look for anybody that has been asking for garage renovation and you're going to reply. And then you're going to make a post saying, hey, I live in the neighborhood. I just opened a Garage Experts. If you need an estimate, they're free, whatever. And then I said, the next 10 minutes, you go into Google and respond to all your reviews. Now they don't have to do that because Podium's doing that automatically for them. But in the past, that's what I said. Then the rest of the 30 minutes is you're driving around, hanging door hangers, putting out yard signs, doing all those things. Boom, you've done. And then one meeting a week with somebody outside of your circle. That to me, I think disarms them a little bit, makes them feel like, oh, this is more manageable. But I also want it to be very clear. Yes, we're going to tell you to invest more those first 3 months. Yes, we're going to tell you, hey, we need to invest a little bit more in digital marketing to get that, those leads flowing. But you have a part in this too. You have boots on the ground. I can't be there doing this for you. And so this is a two-way street. You're going to have to, do some of this and help yourself too.
Yeah, community outreach is such a big part of every franchise system and every franchisee. And it's one of the hardest things to communicate, I think. Because either you got it or you don't, and they really have to make that effort. And if it's not something they're comfortable with, they have to become comfortable with it or find somebody in their network who is. But yeah, that's a lot of brands have trouble with that one.
Yeah, and it's just, I feel like the failure to launch is the lack of, I'm not saying this about the GEs, I'm just saying in general, the lack of getting out there and putting themselves out there. And it's easier for the people that are more sales minded, but if you have people that are a little bit more operations, or in our case, production focused, where they understand how to put the product down and they just want to get in there and install, it's a little bit harder for them.
Yeah, the doer. Okay, so you've done a lot in the last 8 months and you've still got a lot to do, but how are you communicating with the franchisees on all of the things that marketing is accomplishing if it's not necessarily affecting, well, it's not that it's not affecting them yet, but they're not feeling it yet, or they can't see like a actual, return. So how do you communicate with the franchisees on your progress, on all of the initiatives that you're doing, and help them really understand, especially also because they're not marketers. So do they understand? And so how do you share that information with them?
Yes, we have a monthly newsletter. One went out yesterday, so I always put stuff in there. I'm always afraid they're not going to read all of it. And so it was something that I did at a different brand where on a monthly basis I held webinars. And I don't know why that it did not occur to me. Well, I do know why. There's a million things going on. And so I just didn't even think that, oh, I should be doing these webinars. But thinking of, and it didn't really come to a head until I started to feel a little bit of pressure, like, hey, the franchisees are wondering what's going on. So in addition to the monthly newsletter, I am doing, because that's like everything, that's ops, sales, marketing. We are going to do monthly webinars with the franchisees. And for the rest of the year, so June through December, I set up a different topic, and the meeting will be an hour. The first half hour is just coaching, like, hey, what is a full funnel strategy? What are best practices at home shows? How do you ask for referrals? How do you plan for the next year? We have certain topics. And then the second half is just open fireside chat with me. So they get the opportunity to talk directly to the CMO. They can air any grievances that they have. They can ask specific questions. And then I can also say, hey, here are some results we're seeing. It's almost like I'm going to do a QBR with the system, but on a monthly basis. And I did that at a previous employer. And again, I don't know why it didn't occur to me until just recently. And to be honest, Leanne, you helped remind me that that's what I need to do. So thank you.
My pleasure.
And it was easy to implement because I was like,
yeah, it's so easy.
I already
And
have.
they won't all, yeah, they won't all show up, but you have it. You can record it. You can send it later. Yeah, that's great. You got to communicate in so many different ways and meet them where they are. It's really hard. And a lot of them still won't listen, but.
Well, and the other thing I'm doing, and again, I didn't do it right away because I just jumped in head first, and this should have been, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I am starting to schedule phone calls with all the franchisees and our franchise business coaches, and it's just a marketing focus call. And
Yeah.
it's tell me what you're doing, tell me what you're not doing. Because honestly, some they're not putting everything into the CRM. Now it's going to be automated, so they don't have a choice. But before our other CRM, there weren't a lot of automations. And so I don't have the full picture of what they're doing, which makes it even harder for me to coach them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you so much, Brooke, sharing all of your insights. I know you've had a very busy 8 months, and so excited for you. And I know you're making great strides over at Garage Experts and the other company, which I can never remember the name. Versatile?
Versatile, yeah. Versatile performance
No, it
coaching.
starts with a V.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, I already told them at the start of the show to follow you on LinkedIn if they haven't already, but I'm assuming LinkedIn is the place to find you.
Yes, that's where I'm most active. That's the best place to get a hold of me. And be creative when you message me, please, because if I get these very salesy ones, I'm not replying.
Right. Delete. All right. Well, I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. Really, really nice getting to know Brooke a little bit more. She obviously knows what she's talking about. So that was great.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you talk about her, otherwise you'll go off on a tangent. But well, let's get to our last segment of the podcast, which is Franchise Mingle. Franchise Mingle is sponsored by the National Franchise Show. And this is where we talk a little bit about the upcoming events, what we have going on. Right now, for the remainder of the spring schedule for the National Franchise Show, we have Orlando and we have Houston, although this one might air after Orlando. So the Orlando show is great, folks. No, actually, I kid, but I got to tell you, I mean, and everyone mostly knows this, and as Brooke attested to, how great the franchisors in Florida are. I mean, it is growing so much there. Our pre-registrations for Orlando are through the roof. So I can definitely say it's going to be a great event. And then, of course, we have a bunch of other shows, 5 more coming into the fall. But I would like to talk a little bit about our new marketing and technology assembly that is coming up in November. Leanne, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. It's a one-day event. We'll do a little pre-gaming the night before, but it's a one-day event on all things marketing and technology. We're welcoming all franchise marketers. It is going to be more about 2026 trends because it's going to be in November. What's happening on Google, what's happening on Meta, LinkedIn, and how it applies to franchising. So it's going to be a little bit of a different conference. We're very excited to host that in Tampa. Our presenting sponsor is Location 3. And we've already got some good sponsors on board. So people are really excited about it. So excited to bring people to Tampa, to my hometown. And then that's going to lead right into our Hello Mastermind Fall Retreat, where we are welcoming FranDev executives, executive marketers, and our supplier partners. And we're going to do just what we did in Nashville, only on the sunny side of the state.
Which is nice. It's always nice to go to Florida in November, speaking as a Canadian. And let's not forget that it is also back-to-back with our Tampa National Franchise Show, which happens November 1st and 2nd. My goodness, it's going to be a busy week. Franchise Show 1st and 2nd, Marketing and Technology Assembly on the 3rd, and the Mastermind Retreat on the 4th and 5th. That is great. And last but not least, of course, our Let's Grow Franchise Growth Assembly is coming to Toronto December 3rd and 4th. And that's all I have for Franchise Mingle. This episode is brought to you by Suttles Strauss Architect Franchise Assembly and the National Franchise Show. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.